Hey guys, so today I wanted to do a kind of informal video talking about one of my life goals, bucket lists if you will, and if the title of the video doesn't suggest this, one of my life goals is to visit every single city in England. I would also like to hopefully visit every single city in Scotland, Wales, and both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland as well, but because I live in England it's more feasible perhaps for me to visit every single city in England. As of the 2015 consensus, I believe it's called, there are 51 cities in England. I don't know how many cities there are in the other parts of the United Kingdom. They haven't done a consensus since then, so I just have to go by the 2015 one. And as of this video, I have visited 12 out of the 51 cities, so not a lot, but I've got the rest of my life, hopefully, to carry on, continue visiting them. And I've also been to one city in Scotland. I'll talk about the city in Scotland first, because I've only been to one, and then we'll get on to England. So the only city in Scotland I've been to so far is Edinburgh, and I went to Edinburgh last year and I absolutely loved it. I just fell in love with Edinburgh. I did a vlog on it. I'm gonna say that for a few of these, aren't I? But I did a vlog about my time in Edinburgh, and if you guys couldn't tell in that vlog, I loved it. It's definitely a city I'm considering moving to because I currently live in a town in England and I would love to move to the city, and Edinburgh's one that I'm considering. I went to Edinburgh to see a lot of J.K. Rowling locations because she lived in Edinburgh. So that's the only city in Scotland I've currently been to, Edinburgh. So we'll talk about England. Like I said, I've been to 12 out of 51. I'm hoping to go to all 51 cities, but by the time I get older and I keep going through this, they'll probably add more cities. So the first city on my list is Birmingham. Now, I technically haven't been to a lot of Birmingham. So I went on a coach trip to the West Midlands Safari Park and Canterbury World, both very near Birmingham but not in Birmingham. But the hotel I slept at was actually in Birmingham. So I don't know if it classes as visiting the city because I was there at night and I went around some of the nightlife and saw some of the bits at night, but we weren't there for very long. So Birmingham is one I'd like to go to in the day to experience it a little bit more. Then I've been to Canterbury. I don't remember a lot about Canterbury at all. I was very, very young when we went to Canterbury. I went with my mum. She did tell me that we went to the Chaucer's Canterbury Tales exhibit kind of thing, and I didn't like it as a kid. But Canterbury is another one of those beautiful cities that I would love to go back and revisit because I don't remember much of my time there as a child. The next one on my list is the most recent city, I believe, and that is Hull. Now, Hull isn't far from me, but because we are actually the last train station stop, it's very hard for me to get to Hull because there's no train to Hull. And I rely on trains, I should say. I rely on trains to get to places, or coach trips, because I don't have transport. So it's very hard to get to Hull. But all I can really remember of Hull is the Deep. I've been to the Deep a few times. I went to a Comic-Con in Hull. Again, I think I've done a vlog on that. But I haven't done any shopping or major sightseeing in Hull, so that's another thing I really need to do. Next up is one of my favourite cities in England, and that is Lincoln. I adore Lincoln. I live about an hour away from Lincoln. I can't even tell you how many times I've been. I've been so many times from being a very young child to now. And I particularly love the Lincoln Castle, the cathedral, all that kind of touristy stuff. And I recently met Daniel of Daniel's autograph collection in Lincoln for the first time, which was fantastic. One of the highlights of that trip, apart from, of course, meeting Daniel, was finally finding the Henry VIII's bit that I needed. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. Bishop's Palace, I think. In all my time in Lincoln, I'd never found the place where Henry VIII and Catherine Howard visited, and when I went with Daniel I finally found it. So the whole trip was memorable, but that was specifically a huge thing for me, seeing as I'm a huge Tudor fan and I just love Lincoln and the architecture and everything about it. The next city is another city that I have recently fell in love with, and that is Liverpool. So I technically haven't seen all of Liverpool. I haven't seen all of any of these locations. I specifically went to the Albert Dock and we did a coach trip, me and my dad, and again I've done a vlog on it. It was amazing. I went to see some Fantastic Beasts filming locations. We went to the Beatles Museum, or the Beatles Story, should I say, the Cavern Club, all that sort of stuff, and it was just a fantastic trip, and I fell in love with Liverpool a little bit from that. Next up is a huge one, which I'm sure if you live in England you've been to more than likely, and that is London. And I am a huge fan of London. London is like Marmite, you either love it or you hate it because it's a very big city. It is our main city, it's bustling, it's always busy, but I like that. I've been to London again more times than I can count. I think my favourite place is probably, I don't know the real name of it, but like the Museum District, so where Harrods is. Obviously I'm not posh enough for Harrods, but I've been a few times where Madame Tussauds is, and the museums, the V&A and that kind of thing. I love that. And of course I also love the Theatre District and Covent Garden, so I am pretty obsessed with London. I think my last trip to London was going to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child and the London Zoo and some other bits. Again, I've done vlogs in London. The next place I've been to is Manchester. I've been to Manchester twice or 3 times. Every time I've been to Manchester, it's been for a Britain's Got Talent audition. Yes, and it was quite a while ago. I have done Britain's Got Talent auditions. Maybe that's a story for another day. And I don't really know that much about Manchester, but I did enjoy my time there. I remember going on the Manchester Eye, but I don't really remember too much of what I actually did in Manchester because the whole day was centred around the Britain's Got Talent audition. Next up is another city that's quite close to my heart, and that is Nottingham. I'm going to Nottingham in May again for MCon. But I've been to Nottingham again more times than I can count. Being a huge history fan, I love the Robin Hood aspect. So I haven't managed to go to Sherwood Forest yet, but I went to a Robin Hood ride exhibition thing that's unfortunately no longer there. I also love Woollerton Hall. That's a fantastic place. And then the next one on my list is Oxford. Again, Oxford very close to London. I can't remember too much of Oxford, but I know I've been. But I need to go back to see Oxford University and some other bits because that has some very close connections with Harry Potter. Next up is Sheffield. I've been to Sheffield a couple of times, not that many, and my most recent trip to Sheffield was to see my friend Katie, who lived there at the time. Again, I haven't seen too much of Sheffield because the first time I went, I believe it was for a theatre music kind of trip with my college. So that was all focused and centred around that. And the second time was Halloween to go on a night out with Katie. So again, I didn't see a lot of Sheffield, but it's another place I'd love to go back and properly explore. I've also been, although it isn't a city of course, I've also been to Meadowhall, which is near Sheffield, which is the big shopping centre. And I don't think it quite lived up to my expectations because living in England, you're always told Meadowhall, or living in the north of England, northeast, you're always told Meadowhall is this huge, amazing place, and it's good, but not, you know, when your expectations are high, they're high, aren't they? We're nearly done, we've got 2 more left. The next one is Westminster. I've been to Westminster. Again, I was very, very young, so I can't remember anything about Westminster at all, to be honest. So that's another place I need to go and visit. And finally, York. Again, York, I went as a child. I can't really remember a lot about York, but I would love to visit. Again, to get more memories because York architecture and things like that is just stunning. So that's my 12 out of 51 cities I've been to in England and 1 in Scotland. Please let me know how many cities in England have you visited, and if you haven't, if you live elsewhere, what city in England would you love to come to? I'm sure the answer will be London for a lot of people. So thank you very much for watching this informal chat, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye bye.